Well, hi folks, meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. Thanks for logging on here. Trying to just do a shorter update tonight. Wanted to get this out. Some big weather events going on around the country, and I'm just not feeling the greatest here. A little under the weather, fighting the cold, so I go into a coughing fit. Certainly, my apologies to you, but just really quick update here as we go on. Pretty significant snow event about to shape up for the upper Midwest. Now, for us, where I'm at here in southern Indiana, not going to affect us with that, but it will lay a foundation for some cold potentially later. Here's what the NAM model has to say. National radar here, and you can just sort of watch this. There's this area of low pressure that's going to deepen and sort of track in a fashion similar to this. As it does, watch the intense snow that ends up banding in this with the cold air, especially over portions of Minnesota. As it comes towards us, that will actually give us a little bit of rain here on late Friday afternoon into the overnight hours. And look at this. There might be enough cold air crash in. The NAM is suggesting possibly even some flurries behind that for us here in southern Indiana where I am at. I wouldn't bank on it, but certainly it's possible. It's not going to be an accumulating snow for us, but some of us could end up getting a little bit of some flurry activity out of this. That's certainly possible for those of you up here into the upper Great Plains. It's going to be a pretty significant snow. Here's what the GFS thinks, and you just sort of look at this. I mean, places here in Minnesota just absolutely hammered with foot plus, even almost 2 feet of snow in some cases. And if you just back that out to the national view, well, there you kind of have what's going on, and you see just a very significant little swath of snow all the way through the nation's heartland here in the upper portions of the Midwest. Where I'm at down here in southern Indiana, nothing to worry about. Maybe some flurries out of this, but that's about all that we can really hope to see out of this. Now, before we get there, it's going to be the tale of two stories because the warmth is coming back. We look at the upper layers. Goodness, folks, I'm just not feeling the greatest here, not talking right, but you look at the upper layers of the atmosphere and you see a pretty decent sized ridge coming up over us again. I think high temperatures here Thursday and Friday for southern Indiana, where I am primarily forecasting for. I know many of you watch me from all over the nation. Appreciate that. We're going to go into the 70s here in southern Indiana. It's going to be a pretty good warm up here, and it's going to be warm over a good chunk of the nation too. That's going to change pretty quickly though, as we got this trough digging down into the weekend. That's what'll force the front through, and once it does that, we're looking at a pretty sizable cool down. And look at this. By the time you get into Sunday, what you've got here going on is what we call this northwest flow. So your source region is no longer out here from the Pacific. Your source region is the colder air that's up here. And keep in mind, what you have done is you have just laid a pretty decent little snowpack up in here, and your source region of air is blowing right over that snowpack and coming down. Now, because of that, you can get some cold air. In fact, I wouldn't be so shocked if some portions of the Midwest here and even southern Indiana don't make it out of the 30s on Sunday. The data shows lower to mid 40s right now, but the data is going back and forth on that. I wouldn't be shocked about it. Cold either way is transient. We go back into a little bit of a warm up to maybe the 50s or so here next week before we got another decent little trough digging in later on in the month. That will spell a pretty significant little storm system. Temperature wise though, here for where I'm at, we're looking at temperatures in the upper 60s to low 70s for highs tomorrow. There you go. Friday, you're going to have temperatures pretty warm there. Maybe upper 60s, mid 60s, even some lower 70s here on Friday. That rain's going to approach and come through, and watch the temperatures crash. By the time you get here onto Saturday morning, you're talking about temperatures in the mid to upper 30s across the area. This is actually a little warmer than some data. There are some data that suggest we go down a little bit cooler than that. And then by the time you come into Sunday afternoon, well, guess what happens Sunday afternoon? You don't really recover. Saturday we stay in the 40s. Saturday, yeah, here we go. Boy, I'm having a hard time getting this to work right, but 40s there for Saturday. And then as you go into Sunday morning, look at this, temperatures in the mid to upper 20s around the area again. Very hard freeze coming along with that. And, we only recover maybe to the low 40s. Maybe, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some upper 30s there on Sunday. Sometimes the GFS I just don't know if it's picking up on the depth of how cold it's going to be. Really, it's also going to depend on that snowpack and how much it lays down up in the upper Midwest, because, again, your source air is coming down off of that region. If it lays one heck of a snowpack, there's a chance that we could stay with that colder air advecting in here from the northwest flow. There's a chance we could stay in the 30s. That's a real possibility. We'll figure that out as time goes on. Either way, as I said, it's going to be a pretty transient cold air. We get some more cold days, but then watch this. As you head into next week, we're talking the 50s return. All right. And then it looks like we got some rain to deal with Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to dry out. And Turkey Day is going to be pretty cold. As you wake up on Turkey Day, you're talking temperatures at or below freezing here around the area. And high temperatures that day only in the mid to upper 40s around the area. Turkey Day is looking pretty cold. And then as you just continue out the rest of the month, you really don't see any 60s or 70s. You see mostly 40s and some occasional 50s as you head through the rest of the month here. So a much colder second half of the month is going to be shaping up for us. If we look at the GFS, here's what it does, and there's that storm system deepening and ejecting, giving the pretty heavy snow swath up here. There's some rain developing here to our west on Friday afternoon. That pushes in. Even the GFS hinting maybe some flurries on the backside of this system. It doesn't hint at it really for southern Indiana. It's past us before that happens. Again, there's some competing ideas in the modeling here. We won't, flurry is not a guarantee, but I wouldn't rule it out. That'll continue to go off then. High pressure comes in for a couple of days. We'll warm back up into the 50s next week, but as the time Tuesday rolls in, here's the afternoon hours on Tuesday. You got your next weather maker heading into the nation's heartland. Here in southern Indiana, we've got some rain moving in with this low pressure. It's going to be raining there on Tuesday and Wednesday. It looks like a decent chance of rain, maybe an inch or so. We could certainly use that with our dry conditions. That moves off, and then high pressure settles in. Looks like it's just going to be cold for Thursday and Black Friday. For Turkey Day and Black Friday, look pretty decent weather here outside of just a small little chance of precipitation there. But then watch this. We got a big storm system headed our way, and so this would come right after Thanksgiving week. This would be about the 28th. Pretty big little sizable storm system rolling in through here, and yes, rain too. You guessed it. Some snow on the backside of that system is what the GFS is saying as of this particular run. Now if you go back one run, it shows you a little bit different. So this particular run currently of the GFS that I'm showing you doesn't take much towards us, mostly rain for us. The heavier snow swath up here, and we get just a little bit on the back side of the system. But watch this. You start off with rain, and then it quickly goes to snow. The low is a little bit more to the south of us, and we go into a pretty quick-hitting snow event, and that would relate to some different snow totals. So, the first scenario that I showed you with the morning run of the GFS here takes the snow totals well to our north, gives a pretty sizable storm system up here to Iowa and places like Chicago, even into northern Indiana. That's gone as you look at the one earlier than that, and it's a 2 to 3 inch event for us. So all this to say, it's eye candy for right now. There's nothing definite set in stone. In fact, I would say the idea of accumulating snow is a low chance at this point, but it is showing up in more than one model run now. So it's something that's got our eye on it. We'll have to keep that in mind as we head towards the end of the month. Certainly, it's a much colder pattern here than what we've seen the first half of the month. So we're going to start to get into our chances where we could get some snow events for this, folks. Excuse me. You're going to get into those chances for snow, and you may end up again that may come over us. It may go to the north of us into the northern portions of Indiana, or it may be nothing and not go altogether. All of those are options really on the table at this point. What I can say is that the back half of of what we're going to see here in November certainly looks much colder compared to where we have been. Now, with that said, let me just show you this. The CFS model has come in significantly colder here for December than what it has been showing. The past couple of runs here have shown a pretty sizable flip. It was showing a decent amount of warmth. Then it went to just more kind of average temperatures, and now it's showing some pretty darn cold temperatures in the nation's heartland for December. We take this with a grain of salt. The CFS isn't the greatest model in the world out there, but it is interesting that it's showing this. Is this a trend? Remember, the trend in the modeling is your friend. The trend is your friend, folks. We don't take modeling at face value. We look at the patterns involved and we see whether it makes sense. Trend in the modeling here is for a colder December. Will that pan out or not? Something we're going to have to wait to see. But over the period here setting up over the next week or two with these storm systems, these winter storm systems, the nation's heartland, certainly setting up for a pattern to evolve later on in December that could be much colder. So stay tuned for that. Here's the only reason that I would be skeptical of that at this point, and I'll end on this. Right now, we get a very active Pacific jet stream, a very unusually active Pacific jet stream. In fact, it's more El Nino-like than it is La Nina-like, to be quite honest. And watch as I go through the motions here, and you've got this active jet stream out there. It just continues on as far as the eye can see. Until this lets up and breaks a little bit down, we're not going to get sustained cold. You're going to get some cold shots coming in here with temperatures in the 30s, and you can still get some snowstorms out of that. But you're not going to get temperatures sustained cold like that. You're going to rebound back up to the 50s, because what's happening is, as you look at this, let me back up. Notice where the source air is coming up for our region here. It's not coming from Canada. The source region for our air is coming from out here. It's that Pacific air blowing in off the coast, and so it's much milder than that colder air. You don't have the northwest flow most of the time in the upper layers of the jet stream. You've got this cranked up jet stream out here, and oftentimes it is cranked up out here, but typically we don't see it quite as cranked up and ramped up right out in here. And so what you see is, because you've got this jet extension being so ramped up, and you got a flow coming in off of here, that makes it very hard to get cold weather out of here, and you end up getting toasty. And that's what it's been all fall long. Till this particular jet extension breaks down and becomes less El Nino-like and more La Nina-like, which is much tamer, you're not really going to see sustained cold here in the heartland, which makes me see the CFS could be very skeptical of that. We'll see at this point. Is the CFS seeing that this is going to ramp down? Maybe. We'll have to see. It's all ideas for right now, but for the next couple of weeks to end November, a much, much colder pattern evolving. Excuse me, folks. That's it for this update, folks. We'll have another one of these down the line soon.